Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the first episode of Queendom Puzzle, and mostly about the performances shown in it, but we'll be diving a little bit into everything. If you have been following me for a while, you might be surprised that I moved on from Boys Planet, but we're still in the Mnet survival show rabbit hole. I haven't recovered from the last one yet, and then now they throw me more evil editing, more performances. It's so much, but obviously I am seated. Queendom Puzzle is a little bit different from the other shows, as it is a bit of a mixture between Produce 101 and Queendom, as initially 28, now 26 already debuted girl group members or soloists are competing to make it into the final global project that consists of a group of 7 members. I'm not sure how this group is gonna work, if it's gonna be like a once in a while kind of thing, if it's gonna be permanent, but their goal here is to debut in this group. This first episode is very much an introduction to the participants. We get to see who they are, we get to see some performances which are almost the equivalent of demo stages in Boys Planet, Girls Planet, and so on. So the first things that we see is that our contestants were separated into tiers. They were ranked based on the K-pop hierarchy. It's been so long since I've heard this, like, oh, K-pop tiers, like which groups are S tier, which groups are A, and this rating is basically seen from amount of album sales, how many wins you have in shows, but it is something that I haven't heard in a long while, especially since now we have so many groups that come and go. It's very fast, so the whole K-pop industry is moving so fast that it's a bit hard to keep up with those things. But when I got into K-pop in 2018, it was very common. I was a bit surprised that this was mentioned even. But anyways, I think it's a good way to introduce the Queendom concept itself. I saw bits of commotion around it, but I didn't really understand why, because I don't think it's that important or has much relevancy throughout the show, as after this up and down voting system that is happening, they will already change the tiers, and then they probably will have another mission where they have to do groups and whatnot. So I'm not really bothered by it. I actually like it because I see tier 1s. Obviously, we have Chaeyeon, previously from IZ*ONE. We have Dohwa, who is formerly known as Chanmi from AOA, WJSN Yeorum, Key from Lovelyz, and Momoland's Dewey. So I obviously know all of them. You go into tier 3 or in tier 2, and then maybe you know some of them but not all of them. And in tier 4, I didn't know anyone, so I knew where to look out for new people, so I wasn't bothered by it. Moving on, we had this preliminary mission, I would say, which would readjust those tiers. So they're saying, well, it doesn't matter that you're from AOA, or it doesn't matter that you have, 20 wins with your songs. Here, we're gonna decide what tier you're placed based on your talent. And with that, each contestant prepared a solo stage in which they perform a song of their choice, being a cover or an original song or whatever. And all the other audience members need to vote either up or down, which is kind of similar to what we saw in Queendom. Every week they had to vote someone who was better and someone who was worse. And the mentality that they are having here is, okay, I upvote who I think did a better job than me, or who did something that I wouldn't be able to do, versus downvoting, which is like, I can do a better performance, I can dance better, I can sing better. The performances were amazing. Let's just start right there. But there are a couple of them which I might have downvoted if I was there. So let's check a little bit more into that. I'm not gonna do a real ranking of the performances because it's kind of hard, because so many are still good, and then most of them are kind of meshed together, so it's hard for me to say like, oh, one was better than another. So I'm just gonna separate into ones that I would have downvoted and ones I would have upvoted. First of all, Dohwa, which was the first performance we saw. She is a previous AOA member, and she is a slayer. Okay, I was expecting so much from her. I saw her in the first Queendom season, and she was absolutely amazing. She dances extremely well. But in here, first of all, I knew from the beginning she wasn't gonna super dance because she had a really long dress and it was amazingly pretty. But I was like, I'm not sure if this style really suits her because she is very fierce. So that is kind of what I was searching for. So I was a bit disappointed with her performance, but not because she wasn't fears, but because the whole performance felt a little bit lackluster, knowing what she can do. And she had a little mistake with her skirt, which I think was overshown, but as a first performance, having a little slip there, it's kind of obviously opening the doors for you to get downvoted. So she was downvoted a lot. I was really expecting more from her performance. She did well at some point, but from the beginning, I wasn't really feeling the energy, the vocals, the stage presence. It wasn't really hitting for me. So I really want to see more from her because I know she can do a lot better. Next, someone who I didn't really know but didn't show me much was Jiwon from Triple S. She performed a song of theirs, I believe, and her performance was a bit bland. It wasn't super memorable. There wasn't anything inherently wrong with it. I don't think she made any big mistakes. I do think her dance was a little off with her other dancers. She did a little flip and it was the highlight of her performance and it wasn't so impactful. I think she was a little bit stiff, but nothing super bad. And as many people said, when she came on stage and the music first started, her eyes changed. And I was really curious to see her facial expressions. She had this hat which really suited the outfit, but it didn't really suit the performance, I think. Especially because she wasn't doing amazing, grandiose dance moves, except in the very beginning. But it wasn't anything mind-blowing that she covered her face. So I think if she had her expressions out, like a lot of contestants said, it would have given an upgrade in the performance. But the moment she takes the hat off and throws it away, it's amazing. I just think she didn't show much. I barely have any feelings for this. Like, I barely remember anything. I don't remember her rapping. I just remember her taking her hats off and the very beginning of her dance and her eyes, because her eyes, they really emphasize in her eyes, but nothing really spoke to me. Someone else I would have downvoted is Wooyeon from Dohwa. She was singing I Envy You in front of Chaeyeon, who is the MC of the show and the host of the show and all that. And she was incredibly nervous, rightfully so, because performing in front of an original artist is very hard. But I have seen trainees in produced shows perform in front of their artists with more energy, with more confidence than that. Although I understand where the fear and the anxiety comes from, especially if it's the first time you're performing by yourself, but I would still have downvoted her. Mostly because she didn't do anything wrong in her performance, except she didn't sing almost at all. All the parts that were high or that she needed to sing, because the backtrack had a lot of altitude, so I think it was supposed for her to sing on top of it, completely in existence. She didn't sing and she lip synced, and I think she chose very bad moments for her to lip sync, because in comparison to Zoa from Weekly, who I would also have downvoted, Zoa from Weekly lip synced a lot throughout her performance, but you can barely notice it. But Wooyeon chose moments where you know it's lip sync because the backtrack had a lot of autotune, or the voice, there was a really loud difference between the backtrack and her voice. So that change was a bit jarring and too much. She was dancing amazingly, but couldn't just save her performance. That even if she did amazing isolations like they noticed and danced really well, it was a bit off place, I think. And then, as I said, Zoa from Weekly, she performed Rum Pum Pum. At first, I thought her vocals were just really heavily edited, and I got annoyed by it watching the performance in the episode. So then I went back to check the full performance, and I think she lip-synced a lot of it. There was a really loud backtrack, and you couldn't hear her singing much. But when she sings, you can hear that she's singing in the full part. You can hear when she comes in with her voice, and there are very few moments, and she has a lot of charisma and energy on stage, and I really appreciated that. And wow, she is very young. I didn't expect her to be so young because she's really tall and she looks very mature, but there were like this few points on her performance, like her adjusting her hair and I'm being able to see that she's adjusting her hair, or the fact that she barely sung live, that I didn't appreciate and would have made me downvote the performance. She did get really high votes, which I'm surprised by, because people downvoted Wooyeon because she lip-synced throughout her performance. But Zoa lip-synced throughout her performance as well. So I feel like this is a bit hypocritical of them. And then Riina from Haikyuu. She started out with her own song. I had no idea that song was so successful or anything. I never heard that song before. And she was very messy, evil edited and whatnot. But her performance in the beginning was very good. The first part where she did pop was also really good. I think she was forcing a bit with the facial expressions, but when I saw it the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then she had a voice crack, and I was surprised that they kept the voice crack in, because in Queendom 2, Brave Girls, they think, had some voice cracks throughout the show because they had COVID and whatnot, and they completely blurred it out or auto-tuned it or smoothed the vocals. So I'm surprised that they kept voice crack, and that makes me think they don't want her in the group, because they did focus on the voice crack a couple times. I think if it was only one voice crack, I wouldn't have downvoted her only for that, but it was like a whole line, and being an idol and having so many singers there, I probably would have downvoted at the same time as well, because you're expecting perfection, even though it's not always there, and it's the K-pop standards and it's wrong, but that's for another video. I do think out of all of those people that I said I would have downvoted, her performance was the most enjoyable, and it's only mainly for the mistake. And having the other pop comparison where how they rearranged the song and the track was so creative that it made this pop feel a little less impactful. So without seeing the other pop, maybe I would have upvoted it, but if I was one of them, I would have downvoted. Competition's competition. Anyways, and then we go to the very, very good stages, which I would have upvoted without second thoughts. The first one we're talking about is Faye. She's a Thai actress, singer, composer, and she is now trying to go for the K-pop industry after her Hype Boy cover went viral. And this girl knows how to sing, and maybe she's not the most technical singer ever, and I'm obviously not a professional singer, so I cannot say, but her vocal color, her tone are just so nice. It's amazing, and I really like that vocal tone, and I don't think there's much of them in K-pop, and honestly mostly the songs don't suit that kind of vocal color, but I really like it. It's very honey-like, very mellowy, and I loved it. Her cover of Hype Boy, I completely understand why it went viral. And then she had a bit where she sang her own song, and the rap part was a little bit messy, but I still really enjoyed her performance. I think she had a really nice vibe, and I think she brought to the performance what she wanted to, like show her uniqueness, and I really enjoyed her presence. I think I understand her a lot as an artist from the performance, which is very much appreciated. Then we had Jiwon from Cherry Bullet covering Gotta Go from Dohwa. Wow, very nice choice of a song. I love that song. I think in general her performance was very, very good, and I didn't expect any less because I have been following Jiwon and Bora since Girls Planet 999, and oh my gosh, they are both phenomenal in very different ways. But as you can see, Jiwon is very much a charismatic, and her performance is all about her presence, expressions, her visuals, and just her aura in general. And I think the song and what they chose to do on stage really suited that. I think she was a little bit breathless sometimes and whatnot, but I would still have upvoted her because of this very specific moment. I just love how her voice sounds here, and she nailed her high notes very well. But it was a very good performance, and I would have upvoted it because I enjoyed it, but it was not my most favorite. I was very surprised how she got so many upvotes. Like, okay, queen, go off, I'm cheering for you. Someone I was really surprised with was Jihan from Weekly. I know Weekly obviously just for their song, but I didn't know any of them personally. So Jihan with her pop performance was really insane, and I said already, I really like how they changed the song up and how they arranged the whole song, and it was very different from the original pop, but it showed her flavor, it showed her cuteness, and she had very stable vocals. It was kind of shaky here and there, but it's fine. We appreciate the live vocals. I could hear that she was singing live, and she sang most of it live, so very, very nice. And the performance itself was very captivating. I love her outfits. I loved mostly everything about this performance. Very big upvote for me. Then we had Yeorum. Yeorum also did a very good job. And Yeorum is mainly a dancer. So she did a little bit of the BJSN song, which is one they performed in Queendom a bunch of times. Then she changed into by Kai, and not so vocally centered, but very dance centered. So I think her song choice was very spot on. She did an amazing performance dance-wise. Her vocals were also really good in the beginning. It's very low, and I feel like it's very hard to sing low when dancing. I think it's harder to sing on a lower tone than in a higher tone when dancing because you need a little bit more of a stability. So I think she did a great job with that. It wasn't a mind-blowing performance, but she was very, very good. She was very technical. I feel like I didn't feel her stage presence as much. She didn't blow me away with her facial expressions or anything, but you see that she's very talented. So her performance was obviously upvote in my book. Then we had Suyun from Rocket Punch, and I was very surprised. Okay, first of all, the song choice, Advice, Taemin, so much SM going on. I was so shook when she got into the chorus and she was singing and it was so high pitched, and some girls were like, oh, it's so high pitched, but you can hear the backtrack and you can hear her voice, and she was actually hitting those notes, so it was insane. Maybe she could have showcased her vocals in a better song because this one was very jarring, but overall I was positively impressed by this performance. High notes were very insane. Really like her swag kind of in the beginning. She was giving me like vampire. I don't know, I really liked the overall aura of the performance. I think the high notes, they catch you as a surprise, and when I listened to it the first time, it was a little bit like but then when I saw the full cam, I was bracing myself for it, so it wasn't so jarring. So I understand why they downvoted her, because I mean, you hear the very high-pitched voice and then you think something is wrong, and then you immediately downvote. But I think her performance was very good, so I would upvote her. We then had Chaeyeon. Honestly, this performance was very, very good as well. I didn't understand why they keep calling her Izwon Chaeyeon. Like, can we let Izwon go already? It's been years. I think they need to put her name with it so they explain why she is their tier 1. And honestly, Chaeyeon in this episode is so funny, the way she is plotting to be like the villain of the show, and she's just honest and she doesn't seem like a villain to me. She's like, okay, I'm gonna downvote anyone. That seems very respectful. I absolutely loved her. Just like Yeorum, I was surprised with her voice. Her voice was very low in the beginning and I was like, damn girl, it caught me very off guard, and she did it so well. And she obviously had a lot of whacking, a lot of dancing, as expected of her, but she did amazing. I am always surprised of how well she can dance. I just think she looked sometimes a little bit lost on stage, and I'm not sure if this was real or not. I don't know if something went wrong with the backup dancers. I went to watch the full camera to see if I could find something wrong, because I felt like she was side-eyeing her dancers at some points, or side-eyeing someone in front of them. I'm not sure. Like, it felt to me that she felt like something was off on the stage, and I could see that while watching the performance. So I think that's my only regret about it, because everything else, I think song choice, I didn't know the song, but very suitable. I love how she put her knock choreography into the talk talk talk, perfection, and the energy was very much there. She surprised me in a very nice way, so very good. Upvote from me. And for our final upvotes, these were, I think, my favorite performances. Nana showing Move, I really liked it. Honestly, Move is a very, very tough song choice because the energy you have to have while performing Move is very specific. You can't overdo it, but you can't underdo it, and you need to be sensual, but you don't need to be like super sexy. So it's a very specific song, which obviously Chaeyeon is a genius for being able to perform it so well, but I think she nailed it. I think she performed very, very well. I'm not familiar with her. I think Chaeyeon said she could have shown more, or that wasn't Nana in her full potential, but since I don't know her, I thought the performance was very, very good, and she seemed to have fun with it, and she was confident in it, and I appreciated that. When I saw that, I was like, okay, vibing. Very, very nice. And she had very good vocals as well. Not insane high notes or anything. The song was pretty much stable, but again, the low notes, they were very stable, and the low notes are very hard to sing live. So I was very impressed. All of them that I upvoted, you can hear all of them singing very, very live, and I very much appreciate that. If there was a first place in this video, I would definitely give it to Bora. Oh my gosh, that girl is insane. I hope she goes viral for this. I think she's already going a little bit viral for this, but she has like 4 lungs or something, because her voice, her high notes were insane. And she had no backtrack. Absolutely no backtrack. It was her, just her singing. And then at some moments they put in some voices, not even harmonies, they were just like echoes kind of. But I was so surprised that she had no backtrack at all. And well, you can see she was singing like, because when they push her and she puts her shoulder back, you can hear that the air went out from her lips. So I was super impressed. And I knew that Bora could sing, but still the emotion that she put into the song, the way the stage was set out, and most importantly, her voice, her vocals were mind-blowing. Like, my jaw dropped. So I think she did an amazing performance. Definitely a highlight, and definitely someone Mnet wants. Okay, so now that we covered the performance, I'm gonna go a little bit deep into the editing and who I think they want to be a part of the group, what I see happening. So in this episode, we can see that there is a lot of competition, there is a lot of rivalry, there is a lot of tension between girl groups and specific girls that they set up. So we have Cherry Bullet against Rocket Punch, specifically Jiwon versus Suyun. We have both girlies that sang pop, so Riina versus Jihan. We also have a setup between the main vocalists, or the ones who are going for the main vocal position in the group, Bora and Ki. And since they put Bora first and we have a whole week to wait for Ki, I'm gonna say Bora is definitely a favorite. I mean, I am sure Bora is a favorite because they have been wanting Bora since Girls Planet 99. So let's see if this time they can actually get her. So this episode, I really liked the way that each performer had a little bit of a screen time, a story. Some had a little less screen time in the story department than others, but I think overall the story part was very fair, except some of them, Faye, for example, it was all of like who she is and very introductory, versus Suyun, who was entirety was just like against Jiwon. We can clearly see who they want, what they're bringing with this. We're gonna keep seeing a lot of evil editing almost. I do see a little bit of an evil edit for Jiwon though, because they made a point to show her, and not like Chaeyeon where she explained her reason, like, oh, I downvoted everyone, so it's fair. But with Jiwon specifically, it's like she's the first to downvote, or they always show her downvoting. And even when they're showing in the very end that you can upvote or you can downvote, when they're showing like the downvote, they show Jiwon pressing, they show her nails. Who they went in, I'm gonna say Bora, of course. Nana, she has a lot of screen time, many reactions, and damn, she is so freaking pretty. I do think because they set up this age imbalance thing, like, oh, the veterans are very old, they wear dresses and all that, they probably don't want them in the final group. I hate that. And I think they also set up like Jiwon versus Zoa a bit. It wasn't like super on your face, but I do think that was kind of happening. And then someone I thought they would focus a lot on but has barely any screen time is Yeorum from COC. When she first came, they were like, oh, she is from COC and she has 10 years of experience. That was it. And then they showcased some of her comments, which, I mean, obviously. But for having 28 contestants, I would think I would know every face. But I barely saw Chaeyeon from Cherry Bullets, barely saw the girls from Tier 4, and the girls from Tier 2. I don't know all their names yet because they didn't showcase them that much. So that was that. I do think Yuri or Judy, she had a lot of screen time. She was painted very nicely. So the ones I think stand a chance are not necessarily what Mnet wants, but who stand a chance into making it to debut. Yeorum, debut secure, because she is from WJ Sun, and I think that's the biggest group there, and their fandom is insane on voting. They won against Luna on Queendom 2, so that says a lot. I think Yeon also has a really good chance, but she wasn't really shown in the episode. Then we're gonna see how well people accept Bora, but they definitely want Bora, so she has a really high chance of making it in as well. One of the weekly girls will probably make it too, since they're pushing Jihan and Zoa. They're probably one of them. Nana also has an incredible chance of making it because she's already kind of famous and they're pushing her. And then if Chaeyeon was still in the competition, she was definitely there as well. But since she isn't, Yuri maybe, and I would hope Jiwon, but the last one, I'm not sure yet. Let's just leave it out in the open. I don't think Jiwon and the other triple S girl that we didn't see at all, I feel like they're not going to be edited in a nice way. They're highlighted as maknaes, but they're probably going to be like, oh, they're not so good at this, they're not so talented, they still have a long way to go and whatever. So in comparison, they lack a little bit behind. So I don't see much happening from them. And someone I'm really curious to see what happens is Jiwon. Like, I'm really curious to see her performance, and she's a rapper, so I'm curious to see her against the mini Suyun and the Purple Kiss rappers. I didn't see them at all in this episode. Anyways, those are my thoughts. If you're following Queendom Puzzle, feel free to comment down below what were your thoughts on the performances and everything else. And that is all. See you guys probably in the next episode. Goodbye!